Welcome to my session, guys. This is about how to optimize your LinkedIn so recruiters can find you. Today you'll learn insider secrets from a career coach and recruiter, and that is me, of course. So a little bit about me. My name is Narayan. I'm a career and recruitment consultant. My career is about helping others find theirs. And why I was chosen to speak today on this topic, just give you a little insight onto my career journey. So I've been in corporate. I started in 2003. I worked at CIBC for 4 years and then Home Depot for 4 years. In both companies, I was working on HR opportunities, HR, and also recruitment was an element of those roles. I also worked at Clarity Recruitment for a couple of years where I focused just on recruitment because now I realized that was my niche and my passion. That was working on only finance roles at various different levels. After that, I moved into an international consulting firm where I was recruiting again for roles in Asia, Canada, and the US. And I also worked at Ryerson where I was a TA, so a teaching assistant, and taught about HR management. Okay, so that's very high level, but that's my background. So in my experience, I realized my expertise, my niche, my passion, all of that was really the part of recruitment that was helping people land jobs. So that is why I founded my company, Career Real Talk. And I am the founder and main career coach there. So fast forward to today, some highlights include the fact that I've looked at 1,000 resumes. I've conducted hundreds of interviews, and I have developed a 10-step proven process that accelerates the job search. And one of those steps is about LinkedIn. So that's what I will focus on for the rest of our session. So we will jump right into that. And if you see me looking to the side, it's just me looking at the comments. And I think we're good. Okay. So LinkedIn, revamping your LinkedIn to have recruiters find you. So it is not enough to just have a LinkedIn profile. You really want to make sure your LinkedIn profile is clickable, searchable, and impressive. Okay, so that means every single section that you could possibly fill out needs to be filled out on your LinkedIn. So I will tell you a little bit more about that, what that looks like. So being clickable. So in order for your profile to look very interesting and clickable worthy, you want to make sure you have a professional photo. So, I got someone professional to take my photo, but that's not necessarily an option that's available to everyone. So even if that are you having difficulty reading the slides? Click twice. Okay, that's from Mark. Perfect. Thanks, Mark. So I was saying if you want someone to take, a profile of you, even if it's just an iPhone or just a really good camera, ideally you will have a professional take it, but if not, just get someone with a really good camera phone to do it. And you want to make sure you're not, in front of a beach or trees or nature unless it pertains to the job that you're targeting. You really want to have a professional background. It could just be a plain wall, at your home, for example. So that is super important. The professional photo, that makes you super clickable. Don't opt to have no photo. Don't opt to have just like some selfie or something like that. It needs to be professional. What you wear in your photo does matter. It doesn't have to be a suit. So again, if you're in a creative industry, for example, a suit is not something you'll ever be seen wearing. So don't wear a suit, for example. In my profile, I tried to balance it with jeans and a suit to reflect my style and my conversational kind of persona. So having an outfit that reflects the job you're targeting is what you need to focus on. Also, as you can see, I changed my background photo. So your background photo will default to this plain blue background. You really want to make sure that you change that background to reflect, again, something you're targeting. But sometimes that's a little bit tricky because it may just look silly to have a background photo of what you're targeting. So some of my clients recently, they will just choose like a brick wall or something kind of fun or funky, or depending on, what it is they're targeting. If you want some free photos, you can go to Canva. That's where I get my free photos from. That way, it's a photo you're allowed to use. Okay. The next big one is powerful headline. It is so important to choose a powerful headline. Your headline will default to your current job or your last job and your job title. So you want to modify it to something that's reflective of the value that you add, your value proposition, and reflective of the job you're targeting. So for example, My actual job title is career consultant, but intuitively people think of me as a career coach. So I put career coach there and I put executive recruiter so people know why I would be an effective career coach. And then I put helping you find career clarity and land your dream job. So that really tells you what it is I do, what I focus on. Okay, so powerful headlines are a very big deal. And so we will focus on it a little bit more. I'll give you some examples, and then you guys can start thinking about what example could pertain to you. Okay. So for example, number one, a senior financial analyst. In this example, this person has not completed their designation. So I had a client who felt bad that he hadn't completed his designation, but he was working on it. So I said, that's still really amazing. Let's still indicate that, because oftentimes clients or companies rather just want to know that you are just pursuing it at the very least. Okay, so senior financial analyst, CPA candidate. And then in this example, we put the industries that he's focusing on, which is CPG and retail. Okay. In the second example, this person is a new graduate. So that they felt like, okay, I'm a new graduate. I don't really have anything to put on my headline. I'm not sure what to put. So I said, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with being a recent graduate. Let's indicate that. It shows that you're looking for entry-level work. So we changed it to recent English graduate, editor of the varsity, avid storyteller. So editor of the varsity, this person wasn't being paid for this job. It was a volunteer job. Does not matter. It's very reflective, very relevant to what they're looking for. Avid storyteller was a bit fun, and it was just a way to show that this person's effective at what they do. Number three, project manager, knack for streamlining processes, pursuing PMP designation. In this example, a project manager is such a generic title. It can mean so many things. It can mean so many industries. It can mean so many lines of work. Technical, not technical, etc. So you want to make sure that if you have a job title that's one of those job titles that could be really versatile, you definitely want to make use of your headline to show what it is you focus on. So in this case, we indicated that they are, they're into process improvement. They have a knack for streamlining processes. Number four, senior sales leader, track record of exceeding sales targets by 150%. This person's into sales. What people would want to know is that they are an exceptional salesperson. They can exceed sales targets. Okay, and then number five is mine. I've modified it to what you saw in the last slide. So I put helping you find career clarity, need help with your job search, let's talk. So I made mine a bit cheeky because that reflects my conversational style and just my persona again. So these are some examples. Start thinking about what yours could be. Again, the generic job title, the industry job title rather, and then how you add value. And then sometimes something fun at the end. I had a client who put kombucha brewer at the end just to make hers a little bit more fun. It wasn't reflective of what she was targeting, but it was a good icebreaker. Okay. So that is powerful headlines. We will move on to the second part, which is being searchable. This is such a big deal. A lot of my clients that I work with, they are now having recruiters reaching out to them because we've optimized their LinkedIn profile. Okay. So there's different ways to optimize it. So I'll get into that in a moment. But before, since there's an image here, I wanted to mention that you guys can edit your URL and add to your resume. So when you create your LinkedIn profile, it defaults to your name and a phone number and a number. So mine was Jen Narayan 1234567, for example. I dropped the numbers. I changed it to just J Narayan, kept it super short, super clean. That way it looks really nice when I just, put it in the chat box for you guys, or when I add it to my resume, it's just like a clean LinkedIn URL. So make sure you do that. In this about section, two things here. It gives you a chance to tell your story, and it also gives you a chance to start optimizing your profile. Okay, so we'll talk about it in two different ways. First, we'll talk about it in the way that we want to use this about section as storytelling to tell your career story. So if you've made a career transition, describe it in here. If you've, or even if you haven't made a career transition, the job that you're doing right now, the job that you want to do, why do you want to do it? Why are you passionate about it? Why are you good at what you do? Think of this as a cover letter, but way more personal, way more, a really good chance to show your personality, a really good chance to just really make it warm and personable, your LinkedIn profile. So you want to write in, I just saw a question, will we receive videos by mail? I'm not sure. So maybe Mark can answer that one. Write in first person. So anyways, you really want to make this a chance to tell your career story and state your career goal. Your cover letter does the same thing, but your cover letter is probably not read that often, to be very honest. And it's not as personable, not as fun, not as cheeky as you can go in your about section. And you want to write in first person. So I wrote in mine, hi there, I'm Jen Narayan, career coach extraordinaire, etc. Okay. Now getting to the being searchable part. So as you can see, there's a list here of the things that I focus on. And these things are the way I optimize my profile. One of the ways, we'll get into the other ways in a minute. And so I wrote down the key things that people like you would be looking for. So if you were to search for a career coach and interview preparation, it would pop up. So you need to think of, okay, what is it that sets me apart? What are those key skills, key technical skills, key software, key programs, key languages? What is it that I have that someone might be looking for that makes me really good at that job? And those are the things you want to start including here. And then there's other ways to include it as well. So we'll get to that in a moment. But this is one way that you help yourself to be more searchable, to increase your odds of being found by a recruiter, for example. Another way to be searchable, and it's super, like this is, maybe I say this all the time, or I will say it all the time, but this one's really important as well, is your job title, okay? So the industry, your experience is very important, of course, but the job title is almost more important when it comes to your LinkedIn profile, because recruiters are searching for people by job titles, okay? So you want to use a job title that's really reflective of what you do and not something generic. I'll give you an example. Again, a project manager. If you have a job title like something like a project manager that's generic and you just write project manager as your title, it doesn't tell people, well, what type of project manager are you? So you'd want to modify your job title to project manager, comma, whatever it is that you're targeting, okay? So my example is an easy one to explain, because my title was actually recruitment manager, but recruitment manager has changed to talent acquisition manager. So I modified my own job title on my LinkedIn profile to say talent acquisition / recruitment manager. So if someone is searching for the industry term, which is now talent acquisition, they would still find me. So that's what you want to think about, is what is the industry term that I need to use? Okay. And don't think of it as lying. It's just a reframe, because lying would be if I wrote senior director of talent acquisition or something where it was like I was leveling up myself, but I'm really just putting the industry term, so it's findable. Okay. Experience. So you really, first off, you want to optimize your LinkedIn, your resume. You want to make sure your resume is done, really well, and it's really aligned to your ideal job. And once that's done, you want to essentially copy and paste the experience into your experience section here. But you want to do that once it's optimized, and you do that by pulling up job descriptions, looking up keywords, and making sure those keywords are baked into your experience section, and then copying and pasting it onto LinkedIn. Just looking at a message here, where's the best place to find the most updated industry terms for job titles? Elizabeth asks, well, if you were to search for jobs on Indeed, you will see what jobs are coming up. Okay, maybe the job is still called that, but there's a bit of an angle now, or a bit of a tweak to the title. So you would kind of already know, because you would be searching for those jobs and you would see what would come up or not. So that would be one way to find it. Or if you know people who are in that job, checking out their LinkedIn profile and seeing what titles are they using. Okay, so really Google is your friend. Just do some searches on Google, but I find just by Indeed, that helps me a lot. No problem. So the other way to add key skills is by filling out this skills and endorsement section. I find the endorsement section a little less important, but the skills section very important. And it's not that someone's going to go and read all 50 skills that you have, but again, you make yourself more findable by having this filled out. So if I were looking for someone who had SAP experience or reporting or budgeting or whatever it is, like just fill out those key skills. And if you're not sure what those 50 key skills are, because you do have 50 to fill out, you want to make sure that you actually pull up the ideal job descriptions and highlight the keywords that you keep seeing, and then adding the ones that apply to you under this skills and endorsement section, okay? And another thing that's really important about filling out these sections and implementing some of the tricks that I mentioned to you is that when you apply for jobs through LinkedIn, you will rank higher if you have the relevant skills, the relevant job titles, and things like that. Yes, it is acceptable to broaden your job title. That was my example that I was saying for project manager. So say this person is a project manager, I don't know, for learning and development. So for training and development, they would put project manager of training and development, for example, instead of just project manager. Okay, so I will go to the next one. So the next one here is continuing on to be searchable. So by being searchable, you also want to add your education and certificates. And for certificates, I had a client who didn't add all of his certificates he had, and then when I did an audit on his LinkedIn profile, I noticed there was a bunch missing. So we added it all, and then weeks later, he was starting to get some more calls from recruiters or messages because he had the right type of certificates that they were looking for on the right keywords. You also want to consider adding your year of graduation. It's obviously up to you. I removed mine because it wasn't relevant. I'm not looking for a job. But for example, say you are a new grad, and sometimes I know as a recruiter, when I was looking to fill positions for new grads, I would look for people who graduated, let's say 20, whatever year it was at the time, or I'd give a range, like if someone graduated from whatever school from this year to this year. So that's why sometimes the graduation date could help, but it's up to you if you want to have that or not. The other question here, or the other section here, is about being impressive. So how can you be impressive? You can be impressive by having recommendations. So, think about people you can ask: hiring managers, peers, teachers, professors, people you did projects with, people areas you volunteered in, things like that. So you really want to just kind of think beyond just my manager, because sometimes we're not comfortable asking our manager. Maybe they're still your manager, or maybe you're not comfortable with your old manager, whatever it is. There's so many different angles you can go and think of other people other than just your old boss, clients, stakeholders, etc. Think about everyone you can ask, and return the favor as well. As there people that you and give that recommendation. It does go a long way. You do want to make sure that you add people that you know where you've added value, or that they're going to have something positive to say. I know I had a client who just kind of sent it to everyone, and he got a lot of negative responses. So you just want to be very mindful and cognizant of who you do reach out for recommendations. So just some recap here of additional ways to optimize your LinkedIn. So you really want to make sure you add your industry and location. So, there's a section to add your industry, fill that out. You do want to add your city, because I know I had a couple clients who just wrote Canada, but then me as a recruiter, if I'm searching for someone who lives in Toronto or wherever, you may not necessarily pull up because you're not falling into that Toronto segment. So include your city. Unless you are looking to relocate, that's a different scenario. It's case by case at that point. You want to have at least, if you're someone who has, let's say, more than 15 years experience, I would say just include the last 10 to 15 years of experience. Anything else might start looking like it just might not be as relevant. It's more junior. It's not where you're at today, things like that. So, 10 to 15 years is good. You want to aim to have 500 connections. I know that's a bit crazy to have 500 connections, but it's definitely doable. It takes time. The reason why is the more people you have as first connection, the more you'll have a second connection, and the more you can reach out to people that way if you don't have LinkedIn Premium. So it's really important to really have an exceptional LinkedIn profile and lots of connections, because you will start, or it would be nice to start reaching out to people proactively, especially when you apply for jobs, and then reaching out to them, and it'll be easier to find them the more connections you have, okay? reiterating that making sure your photo is current, professional, and only use, no group shots, no selfies. You want to make sure you shorten your public URL. I mentioned that one earlier, just wanted to mention that again. Rearranging your profile, there's an option to like rearrange things and just, move things up and down depending on what makes sense to you. The reason why I'm bringing that up is I had a client who didn't have any relevant work experience, but their volunteer experience was very relevant because that was the area they wanted to target. So we put the volunteer experience above in their scenario. You really want to optimize your LinkedIn headline, which I know I mentioned, and I'm mentioning it again because it's super important. Optimize that. You can Google examples of some ideas. Again, thinking about the headline, industry, things like that. Showcase awards and accomplishments, and remove irrelevant points. So the reason why I said remove irrelevant points is because I have clients who, for example, they are targeting a marketing role, but in their undergrad, they completed 2 degrees, one that was not relevant, one that was like I don't remember what it was something completely different. If it's generic, like arts or business, and that's fine, but it was something very specific, and they had 2, so we removed the one that wasn't relevant. They also had the real estate license, so we removed that one. They also had their yoga certificate. We kept that one because that had nothing to do with her main career. It was just something to showcase her personality and interest. But my point is, you really want to clean up your LinkedIn. You want to clean up things like removing your high school, removing anything that doesn't tell the succinct story of what it is you're targeting. You also want to make sure you remove things like, I mentioned high school, maybe some like other certificates that you might have taken. Some people, I find that they want to just maximize their LinkedIn and just fill up every single thing they possibly can. And that's not necessarily the right strategy. The strategy is filling out everything that relates to the target job and filling out things that maybe showcase your personality, like my client leaving on her yoga, for example. Languages is also really good. So if you speak additional languages, add those languages. I had a friend who actually spoke French, Italian, and English, and this was just my friend. It wasn't my client. And I reminded her to add all 3 languages. And 3 weeks later, she got a job because someone literally was looking for someone who spoke French, Italian, and English. And what are the odds, right? But it happens. And so you want to make sure that if you're going to add another language that isn't English, then make sure you add English as well to show that, yes, you do have that language skill as well. And then making sure you fill out like the language proficiency. If your language proficiency is limited, because there's an option for limited and then professional, and then I think there's one more, and then there's native bilingual. If you fall into the lowest category, limited, I would say don't add it, because it looks like, again, the strategy of just trying to fill out everything you possibly can just to have a completed LinkedIn. So that's not the strategy we want to go for, okay? So that is basically the main things about LinkedIn. I will look at the rest of the questions in a minute. So I will check that out in a second. I just did want to let you guys know that I do have a free Land Your Dream Job workshop where I quickly go over, not quickly, it's an hour long, the 10 steps that I created or I've kind of deemed is important to landing your dream job. And one of them is LinkedIn. So you'll find out more about LinkedIn there. And again, it's free. It's on my website, Career Real Talk Career Workshop, and it talks about many different things, not just LinkedIn. Getting clarity on your career goals, defining your career story, mastering your elevator pitch, giving your resume a makeover, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, job search strategy, networking, acing your interview, and salary negotiation. So all 10 steps are there. So you can feel free to check that out. So I'll leave that there, and I'll just go through some of these questions. So I think I answered everything up until Larry Ronaldo. Shouldn't accomplishments be in the experience section instead of the about section? Yes, accomplishments definitely should be reiterated in the experience section. So I'll look this way because the camera's that way. But I glazed over the experience section because I was referring to the resume. So what I was saying is that in your resume, because that would be the first step before joining you to LinkedIn, you'd want to make your resume really on point and really reflective of the target job. So pull up target jobs, look at what they're looking for, and then matching your experience to that point, and then including accomplishments that relate to that. And so once that's done really effectively, you would then add that to your experience section in LinkedIn. So absolutely correct. You definitely want to include your accomplishments as well in your experience section. Why I like it also in the about section is because the about section is a high level who you are, why you're good for the targeted role, whereas the experience section may show that you've done it in specific jobs. So you want to reiterate it again in your kind of overall story by yourself, okay? And then I answered, okay, so I think I'm good with that one. And then Divya, I asked, how can I differentiate myself as a graduate that doesn't have a lot of experience, is applying in a field with hundreds of other people? So you really want to make sure you have, if you have relevant volunteer experience, you want to add that. If you don't, you might want to start looking for volunteer experience that's very relevant. And you want to think about what your advantage is by being a new graduate. Your advantage is maybe you are willing to do different type of entry level work that someone more experienced is not willing to do. Maybe you're comfortable taking a lower salary that someone at a higher level may not be interested in doing. So you really want to kind of figure out what your value add is, and then craft your resume, LinkedIn, and LinkedIn profile around that, and then start, kind of reaching out to people that you apply to, finding out, maybe who a recruiter is that works at that company, or, something like that, and proactively reaching out to them and indicating the types of things that you could offer. But really, like, if you don't have any relevant experience, you want to think of the transferable skills that you have. Often if you're a new grad with minimal experience, people know that, so looking for the transferable skills or looking for the relevant soft skills. And again, you can think of looking for something like a volunteer gig that might be relevant to that job. And I think I answered Dennis' question because it was about Larry's question, why outline accomplishments in the about section versus the one specific for accomplishments further down? Should they be expressed differently? So I guess in the about section is more high level, and then your experience section is very specific to that job, what exactly you did to that job. Finding keywords to add to your LinkedIn profile, that's from Ridwan Ahmed, you're going to pull up key jobs that you're targeting. I like to print it up. I get my clients to print it up, and I get them to highlight the words that keep popping up, and for two reasons, because that's what you want to infuse in your resume, and that's what you want to make your resume targeted against, and those are the keywords you want to add on your LinkedIn profile, assuming that they're relevant to you. And I think I'm seeing a lot of thank yous. You're very welcome. Dennis, does authoring original content on LinkedIn help draw positive attention to one's profile? Is authoring original content on LinkedIn? Okay, so create, like, writing articles, for example. I think it does. I mean, I've written articles, and potential clients will notice it, and then they've reached out to me. So it does. I mean, yeah, I think it's very relevant, actually. What if your experiences are international? Your experiences are your experience, so everything that I mentioned still applies. So you still want to do everything that I mentioned, regardless if it's within Canada or without. So you still highlight your experience the same way. So Dolly Qatar asked, she mentioned she has no Canadian experience and recruiters are looking for that. How can I increase my chances of getting jobs? What I advise my clients who have no Canadian experience is to expect to take 1 to 2 levels down from what they were at before. I don't like saying that. I wish it wasn't like that, but I do find that strategy helps them. So the advantage to that hiring manager is that they get someone very experienced, but they are at a lower level. So, and they also get someone who unfortunately they can pay maybe that 2 levels down salary, but they're getting someone more experienced. But it's almost like that collateral. Like, so you are making that sacrifice to take a little bit less than you should be, to take a couple levels down, and then they're getting someone who's more experienced and still has that professionalism because they have more years of experience under their belt. Yes. So Dennis asked, is presenting more photos of oneself in various work environments? Okay, photos as in personal photos of yourself, I don't really think that helps, but awards and recognition, definitely include that in your experience section 100%. As it, whatever pertains to that job, then yes, add it to that section for sure. And it definitely would help you. That probably helps you a little bit later down when someone's going through your resume because you've applied for a job and you're relevant to it and they're going through it in detail. Okay, so Phoebe asks or mentions she has relevant experiences overseas and her most current job is not relevant. Yes, I would say that it's really case by case, so it depends on the scenario. So sometimes with my clients, I'll have that at the bottom, so I'll put relevant experience and then all the jobs that are relevant, and then maybe above that you can put Canadian experience, or you can put other experience, and then you want to put it under. I mean, I'm not giving you a straight answer because it just depends on the scenario, but I definitely, if it's super irrelevant, so I'm just gonna be extreme here and say it's a CSR retail job, but you're targeting a marketing job, for example, I would probably just not have it on there, and I would just have like the marketing experience. But if it's something that's a little bit more relevant, then maybe you can have it and call it other experience, and maybe just put a one-liner of what you do, but then blow up the areas of what's more relevant, so it's obvious that you're showcasing the other areas instead. Do I need to update profile image every month? No, you don't need to update your profile image every few months. Mine's from a year and a half ago. I still think I look like that. I still think it looks professional, so I'm going to keep it up probably for another couple of years until someone tells me I don't look like that anymore or something like that. Martin, is it okay to follow up with recruiters who've reached out to us and provided JDs but have not communicated in a while? Absolutely reach out, absolutely check in. Nothing wrong with checking in. Don't don't take it too personal if you don't hear back, because I'm hearing a lot from clients and that they don't hear back from recruiters, and as annoying as it is, I think it's one of those things where they're probably so overwhelmed and inundated with work, and it doesn't make it acceptable. That's why they have systems to send out messages, but oftentimes it doesn't mean you were this horrible candidate. It could just mean they found someone a little bit more closely aligned. But yes, reach out, and please don't take it to heart if you don't hear back from them. How to select connections in order to achieve 500 plus. Let me think about that. I think that if you are being proactive with your job search, you're going to start proactively reaching out to people, and you will slowly build it up. Like I said, be patient, baby steps. But just think about just think about uploading your contacts from your phone. Think about your friends and family. I find with LinkedIn, we forget about our friends and family. We just think about our career network. So there's other people you may know. There's people you may have went to school with in the past. There's people you may have worked with before. So it'll take some time. It could take a few years. I'm at 16,000, and it probably took me 15 years to get to where I'm at. Should I upload everyone that I met once? Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's up to them if they want to add you or not, but it is nice to personalize your connection. Okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? I think my time is up. So just have a few people left here, I think. You're very welcome. Ratika asked, what's the chances of landing my job if I keep my profile hidden? Can't give you a number or percentage. I'm not sure. I know as a recruiter, I only rely on LinkedIn, and I wouldn't find someone if they didn't have a LinkedIn profile, but there are people who post jobs on Indeed, and they're looking at their resumes on that roll in, and it could still work. I can't say what are the chances, but having a really optimized LinkedIn profile really increases the chances. Hi, Mohammed. You just want to make sure that your profile is reflective of your bookkeeping experience. If you're targeting a bookkeeper job and you're in the job title is bookkeeper, then that's very relevant. If you're targeting an accountant job, you might want to modify your job title to accountant, because I think they're pretty similar. If they're not, then don't. But I'm pretty sure that they are. So you can do that. But if you have relevant experience, so I mean, just making sure your profile is really using the right words that the Canadian job descriptions are using, because your experience would be very similar and relevant, transferable to what a bookkeeper would be looking for or required in Toronto or Canada. Martin asked if you should proactively reach out to people. I really advise my clients to proactively reach out to people if they are relevant to the job. So if you know you're shooing for the job, like you 80 to 90% really matches to what you're looking for, then absolutely follow up with them. Do I proofread resumes? It's part of my services when I work with my clients. I actually create resumes with my clients. So if you work with me one-on-one, then yes, it is part of the package. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no other questions, I will leave the chat. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a pleasure speaking with you guys, and I hope you found this insightful. And feel free to add me on LinkedIn. See you there. Bye bye.